Welcome to the castle, everybody. This is Nightsaber Z42, and today we are going to take a look at the Roll20 Reserve for the month of April. This is Sidequest Adventures, The Phantom Woman by Julian De Luca. The first bundle featuring a 5th level adventure for 5e, Sidequest Adventures, The Phantom Woman, and the art pack Sidequest Battlemaps Ruins of 30 high quality ruin maps, 40 plus assets to build your own elaborate ruin set. Roll initiative. So like I like to do with these series, I will take a look and see what is available from Julian De Luca. So let's take a look. All right, here we are. Featured products. It looks like we've got some dungeon decor, 665 assets and furniture. Wow. Status markers, legendary items, cyber decor. I will actually be taking a look at that later. Magic 2, or rather magic spells 2. I almost said magic 2 spells. A lot of just maps and assets and stuff like that. And what makes this month very unique is that it is the very first month that has actually featured an adventure. I'm not a whole big fan of Roll20 putting the info for whoever the author at the very bottom of their product page now. I wish they would put it back on the top. So basically, Julian is an RPG enthusiast, board game geek, video game aficionado, and big nerd at heart, making assets and maps to use for games. And here's the Phantom Woman, Sidequest Adventures. I don't believe there are any more adventures from this person. In fact, this is actually the first adventure that I've actually seen on the marketplace. So let's take a look and see what is all included in this bundle, because it's an adventure and it's also got maps and tokens and stuff like that. I took the easy way out and I just created a new game with just this adventure instead of finding everything and then plugging them into my own game. So it looks like we have 5 different maps. Never took a look at the assets page actually, so I'm gonna take a quick look at that. Interesting. A lot of foliage. I could have used that a long time ago. And we have a landing page where you'll probably take your players first and foremost for the Phantom Woman if you plan on playing this. There are some notable NPCs. The game comes with 4 pre-made characters, although I kind of really wish they would have just included at least one more, because I know a lot of games have 5, maybe sometimes even 6 players, but hey, 4 is a nice number. You can actually access everything on the side underneath your journal, and everything's actually really fairly organized. Like, you have your NPCs, then you have your PCs right here, which are represented over here on the top with their character icons, and you get nice little backstories for them. And the artwork is fairly interesting. So I'm gonna go ahead and say this up front. I'm not a huge fan of the whole 3D art thing, at least when it comes to books and stuff. But I actually don't mind it here because it's very consistent. And actually, as we'll see in some of the handouts, some of the landscape is actually really nice. I would like to know where they or how they went about that. It almost looks very much like from Skyrim or Oblivion, the Elder Scrolls games. And then, of course, you have all of your enemies and any magic items, although the magic items are pretty basic, like healing potion, poisoned healing potion. That's interesting. But yeah. Then, of course, you have all of your handouts that you can give to your players, which are actually just cards, so your players can have a visual representation of what they're about to face, as well as their NPCs there, whatever backstory that the PCs would know about. So very interesting. And then, of course, we have the adventure down here, starting with Scene 0, which is the very beginning. This is what you as a GM are going to want to read and how to use the page and structure, character and token placements. This is supposedly a one-shot, but most of them are meant to be played in 2 to 3 sessions. Yeah, don't ask me about that one, but whatever. And so here we have our introduction. Sidequest Adventures, The Phantom Woman is a short adventure for 4 5th level characters that takes the heroes to a seemingly ordinary province that is facing a terrible curse. The adventure is divided in 3 parts, In part 1, the characters are summoned by the Duke of Faraway himself and asked to escort a chest full of silver coins to the capital meant to pay royal taxes. Part 2 commences when the party chases a phantom woman into the woods, getting ambushed by hooded humans that they take for thieves, leading them to believe that all this could be an elaborate scheme from the Duke to keep his tax money. Part 3 takes place back in town, where the heroes have to convince the guard captain of a betrayal and depose the usurper to lift the curse that can doom all the villagers of Faraway to starve to death or worse. And then, of course, you have your adventure background, which gives you some detail about the village that this primarily takes place in, as well as some of its history. And then, of course, some tips on plugging this into your own campaign. This is meant to serve like as a side adventure. Obviously, it's a side quest adventure. So you can definitely just plug it into your game and use it however you want. A little blurb on using pre-generated characters, as well as some of the basics, which is pretty much just their backstory, which is very brief. Main characters, NPCs that you'll encounter along the way from Orlin Beauvillard, the Duke of Faraway, Lady Laylara Beauvillard, Captain Johan Belford, and then we actually have the scenes. Starting with scene 1, the Duke in distress. It's pretty much like reading, one of those 5th adventure books where you have all the different scenes and you just go in order. You have different colored text that's in italics. That's what you read out to your players. And, your players might decide to do something like do an option, and that option is listed here. Any rolls that they want to make and stuff like that, as well as different notes to the GMs. So actually, this first scene takes place in scene 1, which is the Duke's home, which all the maps here are dynamically lit. So if you're a big fan of that, then you can do that. Although I find it really weird that they included this keep here for the first scene, because they're only going to interact with this area, maybe this area, and then I think the Duke is over here. So it's really meant to be like a role-playing scene in my eyes, so having a map really just doesn't make a whole lot of sense. Although I will say, I am glad that this map does exist, because if I were playing a fantasy game, I would just definitely take this and reuse it elsewhere. So it is actually a really good-looking map. And of course, you have all of your tokens for your NPCs, your guards over here. So very nice. I really do like this map style. Scene 2 takes place on the road where the players are investigating, and I actually do like how they utilize this map. So if the PCs are really good at perception, they might spot the ambush before it ever takes place, and then the bandits would actually spawn here. If not, then the bandits get closer, and I think that's really cool. So they're just right up in there, and they're probably gonna attack first and surprise the PCs. And then, of course, the Banshee does appear. I found it really weird that these trees were in the objects part, but then it also kind of makes sense. So, maybe the bandit guy goes into the tree, and then now all of a sudden he's standing on top of the tree, or something like that. Or you could just move this out of the way, and then you would know that the bandit is there. So I kind of see why they did that. Anyways, scene 3 also takes place on this map because the Banshee does appear, and you have this whole thing with the Banshee, or the Phantom Woman, rather. And as you go along, you show your players all of this really nice art. I mean, it's all 3D, of course, but it actually does fit the scene that I see here. And so I do appreciate that. Then, of course, the PCs follow the Phantom Lady through the woods, come across a cottage filled with undead. And there you can see our PCs right there, and there's the shack, and of course the roof does come off so you can see the interior. So very nice. This is the part where I realized that, yeah, those trees can probably move because you want to see underneath them. So very nice touch. I do like that. And I just now noticed that little circle there, the little ritual circle. So let's see. You notice a faint light from behind the trees. As you approach, you can spot a cottage in a glade, which at first glance appears to be abandoned. However, a lamppost next to the main door is suspiciously lit. And so the players investigate, and that's where they find the dungeon. I must say, I really, really, really like 100% like this dungeon. You have the numbers that correspond to, just like in your average 5th edition book or adventure, where each room has a specific number and you read through that number. You might tell your players some things. You might have them roll when they get into that room. All of the rooms are, for the most part, filled with different encounters. The GM is going to be able to see like scroll of mirror image, scroll of scorching ray, scroll of web. So if your players actually decide to investigate in a specific area, you could say, oh, well, you found the scroll of the scorching mirror or scorching ray, or this is the red moon tree. I really do like how they make use of like blank space to use GM information. That means that I'm not having to spend time going from this to this. Although if I was honest, I would just put this part on another page. I have 2 monitors. So there you go. The PCs start here and they go through the area. They can do this stealthily, or they can just go in through, and then if they go right on through, guns a-blazing, some of the cultists will hear and they will sound the alarm, alerting everything in this dungeon. So once the players actually go through the dungeon, they get to the inner sanctum. And this is where a powerful ritual is taking place. Really love this spooky, eerie atmosphere that's going here, like this green stuff down there. Really cool. And this is where they have a final encounter with the cult leader, which I can't remember his name, Goodshire. And it's during this point where the players should learn of the real culprit behind this entire investigation. By the way, the Phantom Lady is actually a good guy who mistook you as one of the cult leader's minions. And so that's why she kind of, wasn't so nice when you first encounter her. So once the PCs actually find out that there's somebody else who's pulling the chains, it actually is the person who hired them. Spoiler alert, you go back to your town, to the Duke's Palace, and I guess this is why they actually included that map. Because you can fight here. You confront the Duke, or you confront the ringleader. Orland is his name, and he will try to attack you if you expose too much. You have a list of different evidence that you've probably collected along the way. If you present the evidence and expose the Duke of his crimes, then the captain will actually have his guard turn against him, and you have like this little encounter. The Duke, Orland, surrenders if he gets gravely wounded, less than 10 HP. And if he gives up, then he is executed. And his wife actually takes over because she did not know what was going on and how he wronged the Phantom Lady and her family. So really nice and interesting plot. This would definitely be... Well, it depends on how much time you have. It could be a one-shot, although it'd be a very lengthy one depending on if your players are new or not, or experienced. I actually do like all of the assets in this. So I'm definitely going to be looking out for anything new that Julian comes up with. I really wish that Roll20 would make like a subscribe button to certain, some authors, so you could like follow them and see anything new that comes up. I think that would be a really interesting feature, but it hasn't happened yet, so oh well. I think this is a great breath of fresh air for Roll20. I think having an adventure is the way to go going forward. An adventure with map packs and assets and tokens and stuff like that. I think that should be the way forward. But I also expect to see a lot of bloat come through, and bloat for me is probably not what you think. Bloat for me, at least at this point in time, is seeing just a ton of fantasy things for 5th edition. I know 5th edition is like very easily accessible, but there are tons of other games, and some of the games have actually been featured on Roll20 recently. And so I really hope that we see more support for games that just aren't strictly 5th edition. That way, you know, we can broaden the audience's expanse to what is available. Like maybe you're into sci-fi. Well, here's a sci-fi adventure that you can run, and this is the game that it comes from. And so give that a try. And I think that's what I want to see Roll20 start to do. Take a risk, be adventurous, and expose their audience to new things. Anyways, that's it for this video. Feel free to leave a comment down below. Give this video a huge thumbs up to support this series, and subscribe if you would like to see more. I will see you guys in the next video.